from him.
from here. Um, all right. Well, welcome, Katie. I want to explain why I
Mhm.
brought you on here today,
Yeah,
and then I want to tell you to tell us about you, about your business, and then we'll kind of hop into answering some more individual questions.
absolutely.
So I had asked a question because I wanted to see where the massage therapists were starting out this year and ways that, maybe I could supplement some of the stuff that they're struggling with.
Mhm.
And so I asked a poll question and I had a bunch of different topics. And the number one topic was burnout.
Oof.
And the
Yeah.
number two topic was bookkeeping.
Mm. Yeah.
So, a lot of massage therapists, we get into this business not because we're good with numbers, not
Mhm.
because we're good at balancing our books,
Mhm.
because we love this work and we love what we do. We love helping people. And I find that a lot of times what burns massage therapists out is the business side, because it's not where our minds are naturally. And it just
Right.
becomes a struggle. And anytime anything's a struggle, we tend to put it
Avoid.
off,
Yeah.
procrastinate. So that's kind of where most massage therapists are. Most of us have been doing our bookkeeping on our own, probably not well,
Mhm.
probably haphazard, probably 6 months after.
Right.
So yeah, I know that me personally working with you has brought a lot of structure and clarity to my books.
Hmm.
Um, and so I wanted you to come on and give us your wisdom and your knowledge. So tell me about you. Tell me about your business, and like where you fit, helping businesses.
Sure. So I'm Katie Funk. I am a bookkeeper, and my firm is called Firm Foundation Bookkeeping Services. And that is my belief with bookkeeping and with life. But in bookkeeping, getting your money tracked correctly is going to set that firm foundation for your business to grow. So I help business owners with organizing their money with usually on a monthly basis. Sometimes we do go back because it hasn't been done or someone has been doing it themselves to the best of their ability, but with a lack of full experience. So then I go in and clean up their books, their QuickBooks account so that we have accurate records, we're ready for tax time, and they can actually know what their profit is. They can make decisions based on what's actually happening in their business.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Really just honestly having somebody else's eyes, because I think that's one of the things I've noticed when I started delegating was like I thought that I had to be good at everything to be a
Mm.
business owner. And when I actually started bringing in people that were better than me at certain things, it gave me like the freedom and the space to like just be good at what you're good at.
Mhm.
And like the networking part, like I don't know, it's just something about having somebody else's eyes on your numbers
Mhm.
gives me like some peace that I'm not majorly messing anything up.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Well, there's a certain humility that
Hmm.
comes with being a business owner, right? Because we do feel like we have to do everything, and that if we don't know our numbers, we're failing or we're not a good business owner. But really, there are so many people that are good at their different things that yes, we can use that community and focus on what we are good at. For me, that's marketing. Marketing is not my forte, so that's being delegated to someone else.
Yep. And then you get to just do what you want to do.
Mhm.
Okay, so most massage therapists are, um, I would say, we're sole proprietors.
Mhm.
Um, Most of us would be 1099,
Mhm.
if, you know, business was done properly. That
Mhm.
tends to be kind of something that's unfortunately really common in massage therapy is a misclassification
Mm,
or being 1099 but maybe not receiving a 1099,
mhm,
and feeling like having to do like all the numbers ourselves. And so I've known quite a few massage therapists who get to tax season, don't realize they had to pay quarterly,
mhm.
or should have paid quarterly. And I've known a couple that didn't know that their employers were not taking taxes out.
Oh yeah. That's so true.
And then they have like a big tax bill at the end of the year.
Mhm,
So I would love just some really simple bookkeeping tips for massage therapists. How, you know, not necessarily how to deal with that kind of catastrophic issue, but how to
mhm.
prevent it and how to get things on track now throughout, the rest of this year.
Right. Okay. I got several different tips, and I'm going to try to get them in a good order, but you might be jumping around here.
Great.
So, when you are working for yourself or working within a spa setting or a massage group setting, and you are getting paid as a 1099 contractor, you're not getting your payroll with taxes being withheld. Um, you really need to have an idea of what you're earning. The 1099 is really there to tell the IRS how much you've earned so they know how much to tax you. But you need to keep your own records for how much you've earned, and then, of course, how much you spent so you can get that net profit at the bottom. So let's start there with basics. When we talk about a profit and loss report, we are talking about looking at all the income that you've received in the year, or we might be looking at a month, whatever time frame that might be. And so you want to track how much money has come in, that gross amount that you've been paid. And then whether that's from a sort of employer business or even just clients that come in and pay you, um, however that gets paid, whether it's cash or whether it's some sort of swipe. And so you want to know how much you've earned. You've got to keep that record for the IRS. But really, first and foremost, it's for you as the business owner. And then you need to track your expenses. And this is where it can get tricky if we're just spending and not really thinking about it. But we want to know everything that we've spent for the business, because most things we spend for the business are tax deductions. So we want to be able to reduce how much we owe to the IRS. And so that's going to be key when we look at our income, and then we have all our expenses, and when we subtract that, we get our net profit. And that is what you get taxed on as a sole proprietor, not how much you put in your personal pocket or how much is left over after the year. It's what's represented in that profit minus expenses. So that is your, not your tax bill, but that's your taxable income, essentially. So bookkeeping, all bookkeeping is tracking your money. And there's different ways to do that. I use QuickBooks Online with all of my clients because it's a software that helps automate things and keep things organized. But you don't have to jump all the way into an accounting software right at the beginning. You can use a simple Excel spreadsheet or Google Sheets, just to keep things in order. I would say, as a tip, to have one tab for income, have another tab for expenses, and just enter that information so that you will have it all in one place. That's one of the biggest things, is making it easier on yourself as you go, so that you're not looking back several months, a full year, to say, what actually did I make? What did I spend? So going through periodically to make sure that you are tracking your money movement is key. So I'll stop there for any questions, comments, ideas, and then we can go.
Yeah, no, I think that's great. And I think that's something that unfortunately a lot of us don't do as massage therapists. It's a hustle business, it's a cash business, we have the money and then either we instantly spend it on something we need. Um, so sometimes we don't keep hold of it long enough to think about tracking it, but that's a good idea. Having some sort of routine, whether that's, at the end of your shift when you're finishing your client notes, to just
Mm-hmm.
quickly tab over, enter in your income.
Mm-hmm.
Um, if whether it's like at the end of the week, if you're taking time, like make an appointment with yourself to sit down and log all of your appointments that week. Because, like you said, it's not just about tracking your money for taxes. It's really about getting a snapshot about how your business is doing. So, if you're tracking, you can look back and say, oh, look, January really sucked, but I picked up in March, right? And that can give you information about maybe having more savings for next January or
Right.
not stressing out when everyone cancels in January because now it's kind of an expected rhythm in your business.
Right. Yeah, that's really good. It helps you, like you said, plan for the future.
Yeah, that's I think if you get anything from this, if you start doing anything from this talk, if you really just start tracking your income and your expenses, and you can kind of just stop there. That can be your first little baby step
Mhm.
into bookkeeping, right? Just start tracking your income and your expenses regularly. Once that feels like safe and easy, you can start like doing something with it.
Absolutely. Right. We don't have to jump into that full bookkeeper role as you're getting started. Just keep it simple. A simple Excel spreadsheet. If you feel like you're not tech savvy to even use Excel, which you don't have to even do formulas and with what I'm referring to. I'm just talking about making a list. But the other thing is you go old school and use pen and paper. You can write it down. Have a little notebook where you write down your income, and then on another page you write down your expenses. Uh, it's just find what works for you. That's the key. You can't just say, "Oh, this is me. This is the perfect way to do it, so I have to do it this way." You got to break out of that mold and find what works for you.
Right, because
So I wanted go
the
ahead.
point is that it gets done, not that it's like
Right.
perfect or everybody's is in the same format.
Exactly.
Um,
I wanted to mention
yeah.
just basic expense
Yeah, yeah.
categories because these categories is what, well, again, for the business owner, gives you insight into what you're spending your money on, but also then helps you with filing the taxes with the regular tax deductible categories. So just to run through a few here. One of those top ones, and sometimes your biggest expense is rent. If you're renting a room or whatever space that might be, your rent is you want to have that in a category so you can see how much you've spent each month, but also in the cumulative year on rent. Another category is supplies. So that might be your oil, your sheets, different lotions, whatever supplies you use to do your job. That can also be office supplies if you do buy anything that's more officey.
Hmm.
That also still counts in supplies. If you use it for your business, it's your business expense. And then you might have laundry if you pay out for a laundry service or something like that. That could be an expense. Continuing education. So anything that you are doing to learn more as you go can be an expense, a business expense. Marketing, if you're paying for any sort of advertising that could look like Facebook ads, it could look like um, I lump networking in here. Networking and marketing really go hand in hand. That's one of the places where I spend money to get in front of people, to get to know
Mm.
people so that they will, in turn, think of me when they need a bookkeeper. And it can be the same for massage therapists. And then licensing and insurance can be a category. And another one would be any other equipment. And that might be tables, any tools that you might need for doing your job. Um, I'm gonna I always feel like a Debbie Downer when I say this one. Meals is a tax deduction when you are meeting with a client or with a colleague, not when you're driving on your way to work or not when you're just on your own. And it's such a bummer. I see this a lot more in other industries like construction or realtors who are out on the road and they have to eat when they're doing business, but unfortunately is not a tax deduction or technically a business meal if you're by yourself. So keep that in mind.
Boo.
I know it's a bummer,
Oh
but
man.
we want to keep this clean and separate so that no shoes down.
Yes. Well, thankfully, with massage therapy, another reason I love this job is that our expenses are very low.
Yeah.
Right,
Mhm.
guys? Like we pay for oil or lotion periodically. Your sheets, right? You buy them and they last for years. Your table, your equipment, all of that stuff's pretty reusable. I would, oh crap, my brain was like, remember this thing, and then I forgot it. That's great. Um, But yeah, just like like biz office expenses. So if
Mhm.
you pay for signage or even you're buying pens for your clients to sign things or mints for the office. I know a lot of massage therapists like to have little
Mhm.
things like that. Um, yeah, don't forget about that stuff.
Yeah.
What so something that some I don't know. I don't want to like interrupt you if you had like something else that you okay. Um Something that always comes up around tax time is laundry. And I don't know
Mm.
if you have any insight on this because it changes all of the time. And here's what I hear from CPAs is that it depends on your personal tax filing, what makes the most sense when you're deducting for laundry without a laundry service. So, like doing laundry at your home.
Mm.
Some people Some CPAs will say to keep track of the loads that you do at your home and that you can deduct like $1 per load. I don't know if I know that's such like a weird niche question. I don't know if you've ever even thought about that, or maybe you can just put that in the back of your mind and let me know if you come up with anything later.
Sure. Um, I've not heard of this specifically. Like you said, it's very niche, but I will just say there there are deductions for like home office. So if you
Mm,
have a specific office space that you work at, you can deduct the portion of your home that you use for work. So I can imagine that there is sort of a way you'd have to work with your tax preparer to see how. But if you're washing your own linens, um, I would say just try to keep track. The biggest thing is tracking. How many loads
mm,
do you do? And I would also think it'd be best to keep it separate, but I know reality. We just throw everything in. Um, so I think just having a good idea of how much you wash per or for massage versus how much is personal. Because the biggest thing that IRS is doing, like they do with meals, is they don't want you to deduct things that are really just regular living expenses.
hmm.
So that's where the laundry could be iffy. But talking to a tax preparer would be the best.
Okay, that's what have been saying for years is when people ask me, "Can I deduct my laundry or how do I do that?"
Mhm.
is what I've always been told by CPAs is that just talk to them, because sometimes it's best to take the standard deduction, and then
Mhm,
depending on your personal, like how everything else that you're doing, it might be
mhm.
better to itemize that. So it really is like, yeah, keep track of it, but don't like hang your hat that that's going to be such a huge deduction.
Right,
Um,
and it's mileage in a
oh
sense.
yeah.
Always good to up your miles. Now, driving from home to your place of work doesn't count as mileage. Again, boo. But if you drive around to different places, or if
Mm-hmm.
you, I know some massage therapists go in home. So if
Mm-hmm.
you're going to a client's space, that um, that amount of miles becomes a deduction. I don't even know what it is this year. It's usually like 0.65 cents per mile is what you get to deduct. So the biggest thing is to track your mileage. Um, Again, not from home to work. That doesn't count because that's just regular. But any other driving around that you might do for your business.
Yeah, like going to doing in homes, like you said.
Mhm.
I know a couple of people might be driving between locations to perform massages,
Yeah.
or traveling to do like a chair event, that kind of thing.
Mhm. That would absolutely count. Mhm. And I would say network,
Yeah,
going to network, going to meet with somebody for business, also mileage.
nice. Well, I am huge on massage therapists getting more into networking because we're awful at it. Um, I want to see more massage therapists at networking meetings. So there you go,
Yes.
guys. You can track it for your taxes. Okay, I have one more question in my brain.
Mhm.
A lot of massage therapists, the way that they are paid is through commission. So they might not pay for rent or supplies directly. Um, they receive, say, 40% of the treatment cost. And the
Mhm.
owner kind of takes the equipment fee out of that
Okay.
extra percentage. Um, Ideally, in that situation, you should be getting a 1099 that
Mhm.
shows everything that that business paid to you, and then that's how you file your taxes correctly. Or is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. Um, if that's it, where the client pays the company X amount, and then the company pays you a percentage, your income is not that full client payment amount.
Mm-hmm.
It's only what you get paid. And so, on one hand, you might be not getting some expenses, some tax deductible expenses like the equipment or things like that that the company is providing, but your income is lower than any of the full price. So in that case, it's still the same of tracking what you earn, and hopefully a 1099 confirms that. But again, it's really just the IRS wanting to peek in and make sure that you are tracking and telling the truth on your tax return, which is worth it. It's not worth trying to fudge things to save some dollars here and there, because if anything were to get found out, then there's big penalties and interest and all kinds of stuff. So it's still just the tracking of
Mm.
what you make, what you're paid. And really, it's really important to know if you are a W-2 employee or if you are a 1099 contractor
Yes,
to set
yes.
aside for your tax. Um, I know, and that's really hard when you're getting started and you need every dollar to live on or to get the things that you need. But even if it's just a little bit here and there, I tend to say save 20 to 25% of what you make, so that it's in a, just put it in a savings account, have it there separate from your business expenses, um, so that you're not hit with a surprise when it's time to file taxes. And that's hard to do. And there might be months that you have to back off a little bit, but if you're able to, set that as a priority so that you can be ready to pay those taxes and not be hurting in April.
Yeah, it really sounds like the big theme is track it, track it, track it.
Yep, that's it.
And I think that's a good idea, even no matter what your employment situation, because like you said, and I totally agree. When you're first getting started, your priority is like food on the table, right? Like I get it. You're gonna take whatever kind of structured job makes sense for you in that moment. And I never fault anybody for taking being misclassified. Just
Mhm.
know, be aware of what's happening, and make a plan to either take care of yourself or make a plan to move out of that place. But yeah, if you're, no matter where you're at, it sounds like the golden rule for bookkeeping is to just track everything, track all of the income and all of the expenses. And it
Mhm.
doesn't really matter if you know what to do with it right then, or if
Right.
all of your, you don't need to know if all of your expenses are deductible right now,
Right.
just track it all.
Mhm. That's the first step.
Yeah. Okay, I have a couple of questions. Is paying for apps like Apple Music or Good Notes that we use during sessions tax deductible?
I would say generally, yes. If you're using it for business, then that is it just gets tricky with like Apple Music. If you're using Apple Music personally, but then you also use it for your business, um, that one's a kind of iffy. Ask a tax preparer.
Mm.
But go ahead and track it for your business. If you're using it in business, track it. And then those questions can be put to a tax preparer who will give you the nod whether you can use it as a deduction or not.
Nice. Yeah, I think that's kind of like a big overall, just track it. And then even if you don't know if it's iffy, if you're using it for your business, track it. You can always
Mhm.
ask at the end of the year.
Yeah. And that category, a different category I forgot to mention, which is it can be office expenses as a big, just general, or if you want to kind of separate, be a little more specific on that. Like you could have a software category.
Mm. Yeah, because a lot of us will use websites or like scheduling software, and that's,
Yeah.
like
Mhm.
20 bucks a month, that kind of thing.
Mhm.
Okay, if you're a sole proprietor, but you did a side job as a W-2, would you file it as one business, um, and then two as a person, or do it all together? Do it all together.
Yeah, I do know this. As a preface, I think it's been kind of clear. I'm not a tax preparer,
Yeah.
so I don't have all of those answers, but I can answer this question. When you are filing, a personal tax return is a 1040, and that's where you put any income that you get as an employee on your W-2, and there's also a section of what was already withheld for your taxes. On the flip side, when you are getting paid as a contractor, you receive the 1099. That is going to go on what's called a Schedule C. The Schedule C is the form within your tax return that shows specifically what you earned for business that was not already taxed. And that's where you'll also put your expenses and get your net profit. What's your um, taxable income for the business? Now they go together on one tax return, but there's two different forms where that information goes.
Okay, that makes sense. So you can do it together. You're just going to have a separate form for each of those
Mhm.
separate incomes. Okay.
Mhm.
That makes sense to me. Well, I don't have any other questions that pop up. Did you have anything else between?
I did just want to mention a way to make tracking easier is to have a separate bank account.
Oh,
And this is even as you're just getting started, even if you don't have an LLC specific business, you're just doing business as a sole proprietor, you can still get a separate bank account. And that just makes it so much easier to keep track of what came in. You put your income into that account, You use that account to make your business expenses. And it doesn't mean that then you're just hands off. You don't have to track anything, but it's all in one place. And you're not going through your bank account, your personal bank account, trying to remember, was this for personal? Was this for business? I know a lot of banks have business checking accounts, and you can do that, but sometimes they have specific requirements of how much money should be in there to keep the account open. Sometimes they have service fees on top of that. So that's a possibility. You'd want to check with your bank that you already have, or check around for other banks. But you don't have to use a business labeled account. It can be a personal account, but just separate from what you use for your daily life. So that's a key there to keep it separate. And if your business bank account is low and you don't have enough for the expenses that you need, that's when you make a transfer. You transfer in your personal money to your account for business to make those expenses. And then from that account, when you need money for your personal life, you make a transfer out of that, and that's what you're paying yourself. We want to keep those separate. And especially if you have an LLC, it's important to do that, because the whole point of a limited liability company is that anything that's happening in business should not reach over into your personal life. It happens. We use the wrong card sometimes, and that's not the end of the world. But so it's easier for you to track your finances, and it also keeps you safe when it comes to having an LLC, or just making sure that that business and personal, your daily life, is separate.
Yeah,
Your
that's
business
great.
is there to pay you as a person. It's not what the mindset is, that what you're getting paid is just your money to do whatever you want. It's actually your business's money, and your business needs to pay you for your daily life. And that's a big mindset shift, especially when you're starting out, especially when it's just month to month. But keeping track is the best way to keep your business afloat and keep your daily life going and getting food on the table.
Yeah, that's so true. Having that mindset set shift is a big part of it that I didn't even hadn't thought about too much, so that's gonna stick with me for a minute. But because yeah, your business, that's kind of, I've been going, I'm rambling now because you like hit something. Because that's the mindset shift I've been having to go through this year, is to realizing, and I've made a commitment to myself, realizing this year that, like, no, my business pays for my business and my business pays for me. Yeah, and working to have that mindset shift. But it is hard as massage therapists. I think it might be a little easier for people that make something, that like produce something to sell, because we get that separation. But with massage therapists, like, we are the business, our bodies are the service.
We're a
Um,
little,
it's
literally the,
right. It's
the
such an intimate, like, business is us, is our business, that it's hard to like untangle that,
Mhm.
to be smart when it comes to money. Um, I think I totally agree with you. Having a separate checking account, even if it's just a personal checking account, just go open a new one, have all of your credit card stuff sent to that
Mhm.
account, have all of your Stripe or your Square set up to that account, all of your business auto draft set up to that account. And like you said, if you're tracking and you need, to add a investment,
Mhm.
then you transfer money over. But keeping it separate is going to be the biggest thing. Um, that's what everyone says.
Yeah. Well, and I'll make just a tip here. If you do transfer personal money into the business account, that is not income. That is just an owner's investment. So you'll see that there's more money in the account, but do not count that as income, because you don't want to pay taxes on that money again.
And something
So
I learned this year is, if your business um, ends the year at a loss,
Mm-hmm.
One, apparently it's really common. I've talked to a couple of people at different networking meetings, and everyone's like, "Oh yeah, your first year." Psh. So that made me feel better. Talk to people, network. It makes you feel better about yourself.
Yeah,
And also, you don't pay taxes on it.
that's
So,
right.
and everything I was looking was like you can also claim that loss on like next year's taxes.
Mhm.
So I was like, okay, that's a little silver lining. If you do, end your first year of business, very common to end it at a loss. At least you get a little tax break.
Yeah, that's right. Can't tax nothing.
Oh, all right. Do you have any last little tips or things that you want to talk about? Tell us, maybe tell us more about things that you can do to help us.
Mhm.
Any little tips that you have? This is your
Right.
time.
So I offer monthly bookkeeping services to business owners. But if you're not at a point where you're ready to outsource and have a monthly fee for that, I do offer consulting packages or a consulting service. And that looks like booking an hour with me to go over your finances. We can look at if you're using QuickBooks, how it's set up, make sure the bank account is syncing and bringing in those transactions correctly, that your categories are set up. Um, it could be, it doesn't have to be software related. It can be how do I set up an Excel sheet to track it myself? How do I set up a bank account to be able to do this? So that is an option. It's a consulting call. We schedule for an hour. It's $125 for that hour, but it's getting that insight into what you're doing. It can also be come in and check, look over your shoulder. Are these things in the right categories? Is there anything that can be optimized for your deduction? So I do offer that. You can contact me through Facebook. It's Firm Foundation Bookkeeping Services. Or you can email me. It's info@firmfoundationbkp.com. That's short for bookkeeping. And then my website, which is also firmfoundationbkp.com.
Awesome. Well, I'll throw those links in the comments after this.
Awesome.
And I will just, as a testimonial, say that Katie runs my books, but like monthly. But one of the coolest things I think about onboarding with Katie was, again, just getting to come on and have a phone call. And I got to just ask all of my stupid questions. All of the questions that, like, I'm like, I feel so insecure about this. I don't know this. Getting, like, just helping get the categories clear because it is a little bit specific to each business. So getting that clear, knowing kind of the process that I should be doing every month, like just
Mhm.
having an hour call where Katie shows you the system that you can implement for the rest of the year
Mhm.
can be super valuable. So I highly recommend hopping on a phone call with her if you're confused at all, which you probably are because we're good. We're hands people. We're not the math people, and that's fine.
Yeah, and there are no questions. I also make sure that it's a safe place when you work with me. There are not stupid questions. Sometimes you don't know what you don't know, and that's okay. You're good and you've studied at what you do. There are lots of other spaces in business that it's okay that you don't know all of it. And even with money, I know there's a lot of stigma that comes with knowing your numbers or having so much income or profit, but really we're all doing the best we can.
Yeah, money is so emotional, so
Mm.
emotionally tied and triggered. We all have trauma about
Mhm.
money, and that's perfectly fine. Yeah, and and Katie has a great personality to deal with all of that anxiety and uncomfortableness that comes with talking about your finances.
Mhm.
All right. Well, fantastic. Thank you so much for chatting with me this morning and giving this information to massage therapists that we don't always get
Mhm.
kind of this business side of things. So super, super appreciate you.
Well, thank you for having me.
Of course. All right. Well, like I said, I'll drop all of Katie's contact info in the comments. You can reach out to her, and I will talk to you soon.
All right.
Okay, I'm just gonna hang up.
Bye.
Bye.